Welcome back to the Independent Republic of Mike Graham, right here on Talk Radio. We were just talking to Ben Everett, the Conservative MP for Milton Keynes North. He said that he has been lobbying on behalf of some of his constituents who are PAYE freelancers, trying to get notice taken of their claim that basically they're not getting any help from the government, despite the fact that the government seems to be helping pretty much everybody else. Let's talk to Ellie Phillips now, presenter and journalist who's been campaigning for PAYE freelancers. She's been on this show before talking about it. She's not too happy, I understand, that yesterday's announcements did not include anything for the PAYE freelancers. Ellie, very good morning to you. Welcome back.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed. I don't know if you heard my conversation with Ben Everett. I mean, he sounded as though he was hoping to try and get something done. But it does seem a bit weird, does it not, that despite 30 billion plus all the other money that's been handed out over the past sort of 3 months, that you guys are still not on the list?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely devastating for so many people. Like you said, it's actually almost 4 months on now. I was on your show, I think, about a month ago, probably longer, saying, these are the problems that are happening. This is there, and it's just so disturbing that Rishi Sunak continues to just act as though these people don't exist. And by these people, I mean taxpayers. I'm talking about 3 to 5 million taxpayers. And I said this earlier today, but to put that in context, 3 million people is about the equivalent of the size of Wales. That's who we're talking about here. And that's not even talking about, their dependents, their children. And that's not even taking into consideration those people who just haven't been furloughed. So employees that haven't been furloughed. These are specifically self-employed people who've been discriminated against by Rishi Sunak. And now it is exclusion. It's not forgetting people now, it's exclusion. He knows there are the gaps there. He's been offered simple solutions, and yet he's choosing to ignore them. And he keeps just sticking to this ridiculous line that, we've had the most generous scheme in the world. No one is saying that he hasn't helped people. And we're really, really thankful that he has helped people. What we're asking him to do is to fix the gaps. And the gaps are huge, and they keep getting worse. And the longer he leaves them, the worse they're getting. Who can survive for 4 months without zero income? And he keeps saying that there are these other support schemes in place if you can't access the 2 main support schemes. But they're just insufficient, and it's not even true. We had a recent survey done by IPSI in association with the University of Edinburgh. They did a joint research study, and they showed that PAYE freelancers are freelancers together. Only 3% have accessed universal credit during this lockdown. And if you put that in context, PAYE freelancers specifically can't access either scheme. So they can't be furloughed because they're not employees, and there are 1.7 million of them. And then on the other hand, they can't access the self-employment income support scheme because they are taxed at source. And these people are taxed at source. They pay some of the highest rates of tax. There's no room for fraud, regardless of what anything's been bandied around about that. And also, regardless, it doesn't really matter how the tax has been paid. It has been paid. It's been paid, whether it's through, PAYE, whether it's been through tax returns, or even whether it's through dividends. It's been paid. And long term, I'm the spokesperson for Forgotten PAYE, but I've got to mention Excluded UK as well, because like I said, there are these 3 to 5 million excluded taxpayers. And when you talk about limited companies, he says he wants to invest in jobs, but he hasn't helped these limited companies. And there are about 700,000 of them. They employ people. They're only small companies, but say, for example, each one of them employs 2 people, well, then that's a lot more people that aren't going to have jobs to go back to. Whereas if he invested properly and gave these business owners and gave these freelancers and gave these excluded people the support that they deserve and need, not that they want and not that they would like, that they deserve, that they need to survive, then they would have these jobs to go back to. They would be able to create more jobs. The freelancers who he's saying, we've got these, we're going to put all this money into having work coaches. Well, I'm not being funny, but 1.7 million freelancers have spent years of their lives training, educating themselves, getting the experience to work in these industries that they were working in very well beforehand. They were contributing to the economy very well beforehand. And now they're being told, no, we can't bother investing in you, so we're going to try and create some new kind of job for you. We don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
We've never trained it.
Has
It
anything
just doesn't make any sense.
Has anything changed, Ellie, since the last time you and I spoke, in terms of have any of the PAYE freelancers been able to return to work, and also what have you been able to what sort of conversations have you been able to have with anyone in the government about what they could be doing?
Yeah, I mean, some have been able to get more work. You know, now lockdown restrictions have lifted slightly, but I mean, so many industries still haven't opened yet. So lots haven't. You know, we talk about the film and TV industry, arts and culture, full of freelancers, absolutely rammed with them. They can't get work again. You know, they can't go back to work. Those industries aren't open. And no matter what he says about grants for specific industries, those grants, for example, the recent arts and cultures grant, are predominantly for the buildings and for the company owners, the large company owners. They're not for the small micro business owners, and they're not for the freelancers. They're not for the people. And that's what he's forgetting here. He seems to be putting big business first and forgetting the people that actually make things happen, the people on the ground. And you asked about what's happened since. Not a lot, if I'm honest, in terms of the fact that Rishi Sunak has still not acknowledged that there are these 3 to 5 million people. However, there was almost 3 weeks ago now, the Treasury Select Committee, which is a Tory-led, Tory-backed Treasury committee. They published their interim report, which stated that there are at least 1 million plus people who have fallen through the gaps of the support scheme. They outlined specifically, you know, who they found that they were, and said there are probably more people here. They even offered recommendations. We, as a Forgotten PAYE, then sent a joint report with a response with Excluded UK, giving our, you know, feedback to that and added suggestions about how those gaps could be filled. We've offered these solutions, have been ignored. And now we have formed, so Excluded UK have formed an APPG with Jamie Stone, who was the Lib Dem MP who's helped to set this up. There are now over 200 MPs who signed up to that APPG, including over 50 Tory MPs. And the whole purpose of this APPG is to find ways to help the people who've been excluded. It's called Excluded UK. So they're obviously very aware that it's happening. There is clear support, you know, to try and do something. But Rishi Sunak keeps just pretending like it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
and
it's very strange. I can't understand it really, because I mean, I don't know whether you've been able to put a figure on what would be required as a sort of a rescue package for the people you're talking about. But certainly, if he's giving away sort of $5,000 to people for making, I mean, effectively, what he's saying is that if you wanted to make your house more energy efficient, you can have 5,000 quid, but you can't have anything for not being able to work. It just doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, it doesn't make any sense. And you know what was really insulting with this eat out to help out? People can't feed themselves. So it's no point giving them a 50% discount on eating out when they can't even afford to feed their children at home. That just seems utterly ridiculous. They wasted £10 billion on this track and trace system that didn't work. I've estimated, and I am not an economist, so this could be way wrong, that if you say there's 3 million people who've been excluded, which we know there are at least that many people, and you say that, you know, okay, 15 grand per person, which isn't a lot of money to, you know, in the grand scheme of lives, but that's kind of what other people have gotten, more or less. If you say that 2.5 grand per month for 6 months is more or less what people were eligible to access if they could access the schemes, that's about 15 grand a head. So if you look at that, that would be about 45 billion to support all these people. And people might say, oh, that's so much money. But these are taxpayers. So why should these taxpayers not be getting that help, but others are? At the end of the day, these taxpayers that have been excluded will be helping to pay back the grants that other people have had. They've paid into this tax system for, you know, their entire working lives, and they're being excluded. And when he says his standard retort, which is, oh, we've got these amazing systems and those other, everyone's access help, that is a lie. And also, when he says these other systems available, that's not parity. That does not give people equal support. You can't give some people, predominantly employees of companies, you know, 2.5 grand furlough, and some self-employed people access to 2.5 grand, but then say to others, oh, well, no, there's loans for you, which is debt. So you're pushing people into debt. You can't say to them, oh, well, you can live off universal credit. If universal credit is enough, why did they introduce these schemes to give people more than that? It's clearly not enough. So to say, oh, well, you have universal credit, most people can't access it. If you have savings above £16,000, which you might have been using to save for a deposit on a house, for a baby that's on its way, for a wedding, whatever that might be, you can't get universal credit. If your partner, not someone you're married to, just the person you're living with, if they have any savings or if they carry on working, you cannot access universal credit. And so there are so many loopholes. The grants he talks of, the special grants, the criteria is far too difficult for most people to be able to access.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely very unfair, Ellie. I've got to stop you there just because we're running out of time. But thank you so much for talking to us. We will keep pressing them. We will keep trying to make it clear to them that it's not a fair situation. And you know, it really does seem very strange, doesn't it, that the government, which has been so helpful to so many people, and I certainly don't want to take anything away from what Rishi Sunak has done, but just seems kind of blind on this one particular subject. Because if you're a freelancer, there's a reason why you're a freelancer. They've already changed the tax code to make it more difficult for people to be freelance. They're already taxing you at source. They're already telling you that basically you should be treated the same, despite the fact that you don't get holiday pay, despite the fact that you don't get a pension, despite the fact that you don't get any of the protections that people who are properly employed by companies get. They want you to be treated exactly the same. But then when it comes down to it, they don't want it to be treated exactly the same. And I think that is wrong. And I think that's something they need to fix.